Hey guys, welcome back to Karting with Chris. Today's video is going to be a very special video because today's video is my 100th and second video. Now I was gonna make a special video for my 100th video, but I kind of lost track, lost count. So it's not my 100th video, it's my 102nd video. So for today, I'm gonna be heading off to Dallas Karting Complex to do the rental league race there. And if you don't know this already, they got a brand new track. So I'm gonna test it out, see what it's like, and yeah, let's get to it. So upon arrival to DKC, the first thing I noticed is this giant mud pit where the old track used to be. And to the left of it, we see the brand new track. Now, I've never driven it before, so this is gonna be me just trying it out for the first time. I was asking people before qualifying what the track was like. So we're about to go out onto the track. This is qualifying / practice. And the one thing people told me was it was slippery as hell. So just exiting the pits here, going through this right-hander, you can see just the amount of understeer we're getting. So this is a good indicator of what is to come. So we're gonna try and warm up our tires the best as possible. Once you get your tires warmed up, you should be a little bit better. And going through this first corner right here, we're gonna stop the video right here. And this picture alone is going to be the main theme throughout this race. So the first priority is just to make sure we don't spin out. The qualifying / practice session we're in right now is timed, so if you spin out, you're just wasting your time. And going through this left-hander right here, another person spinning out. And we just got to try and drive around them, and hopefully we don't spin out as well. So my main strategy going into this qualifying session is to really just learn the track to get ready for the pre-final and final races. And fortunately, I had a couple fast drivers starting in front of me, so I could follow them, really see what their lines are. I was asking people before the session, how many of them had already driven the track and how many haven't. And it turns out that I was literally the only person who had not seen this track before. So at a bit of a disadvantage, but in slippery conditions like this, sometimes the racing line is not really the fastest line. Now, in conditions like these, it's actually a good thing to be behind someone because you can tell what's working and what's not working pretty quickly. If you're catching someone through the corners really fast, then that's definitely better, and vice versa. But going through this left-hander up here, we're going to see someone spinning off to the left right there. Maybe you can kind of see them off to the left. I do apologize for the darkness of this video. They did not have very good lights here, so I tried jacking up the brightness on this video without ruining the quality. Now, before going into this qualifying session, the officials told us that if we go off track, dip 2 wheels or go 4 wheels off, and then come back on track, they would give us a rolled up black flag for the first time and then a full black flag for the second time. And it's 2 strikes and you're out because they don't want you bringing in a lot of mud on track because everywhere off track is just a giant mud pit. And if you get beached off track, say you go off and you can't get your cart out of the mud, they weren't going to go and rescue you. So if you go off track and you get stuck, that's your session over. So since this was slippery conditions, each lap kept getting faster and faster. And so it kind of came down to whoever did the last lap was the fastest. And so I'm going to walk you through my fastest lap here. So going through this right-hander up here, you see 2 carts are off, beached in the mud. And that corner back there, you can go a lot faster than you think. And then through this right-hander right here, you try and hit the apexes. I noticed that if you hit the apexes, there was actually a decent amount of grip on them, but the thing is that you get so much understeer that it's kind of hard to hit them. Going through this left-hander right here, I tried taking a wider line. I don't think that worked out too well for me. And then down this mini straight right here, there's this quick left-right, and this was really slippery. You can see the amount of steering input I'm having to put into the cart to make sure I don't spin. And then going through this right-hander right here, if I remember correctly, there was actually a fair bit of grip through there, so you could brake a little later than normal. And one thing to note is that if you're trying to watch this video for, tips on the fastest way around the track, this is definitely not it, because I guarantee you once the track dries up, it's going to be a lot faster than this. And then this long right-hander right here, this corner was my nemesis. It took me a while to figure that one out. Again, I think hitting the apex was the key there. And then going through this last corner up here, this right-hander, you can actually carry a lot more speed than you think. There's a lot more grip than most people think. And you can see I was kind of annoyed with myself there because I could have gone a lot faster. Now, since the track kept evolving, as I almost go off track right there, since the track kept evolving and getting faster and faster, this was not good news for me because there were a lot of people in my class here for this race. So I'm racing in the lights class, and so they were split up into 2 qualifying groups, and I was in the first qualifying, and the second qualifying was about 1 to 2 seconds faster than everyone else. So yeah, it's a little unfair because the track just kept getting faster. Now for this qualifying session, the first group of qualifying, I got second out of everyone in the first group, so not that bad actually. And if you combine the 2 groups, I was in 7th or 8th overall, so you can see just how big of a difference the 2 groups were. But going through this right-hander up here, we can see we're catching up to another kart, and we go offline right here. You can see just how slippery it is offline, the amount of understeer we get going through the corner. And now my tires are really dirty. I don't know it at this point as we pass number 23 down the straight here, but going into this right-hander up here, we're gonna see just how dirty your tires get if you go offline as I attempt to straighten the barriers here. I noticed they were a little bit out of alignment. And unfortunately, that was the last lap of the qualifying session. So in a session where you keep getting faster lap after lap, those last laps of the session really matter. And unfortunately, we kind of screwed it up by realigning the barriers. But this actually didn't worry me because going into this race, I didn't really care where I qualified because I was going to try and do a last to first challenge. Because this is my 100th video, or 102nd video, I decided to do something special, so I'm going to try and do a last to first challenge, so it didn't really matter where I qualified. I was just trying to make sure I wasn't in the LCQ, or last chance qualifier, for those of you who don't know. Now, before I switch over to the next race, there's something I got to tell you. So the track, I don't know what happened, but the track got worse as soon as the heavies went out for their pre-final. And I think it was because just so many of them went off track and then brought mud onto the track. The track just kept getting worse, and so the officials said that they were only going to just do 1 race. So usually it's a pre-final and a final, but for this day they decided to just do a final. Now this was a little annoying because I had paid for 3 sessions and I only got 2, but in reality, if we would have done all the sessions, we probably would have been here till well past midnight because the track really got bad and the lap times were ridiculously slow. Now, unfortunately, people who were in the LCQ got to do their LCQ race, and they also got to do this final race right here. So this is the final race right now. I'm currently ahead of all the LCQ people. The top 5 in the LCQ move on to the final race, and those in the LCQ got to see the track before anyone else. So I'm coming out of the pit starting in 20th here, and going down the straight, I'm gonna point everyone by. I'm actually starting 18th because they had trouble starting other people's karts, but I'm gonna point everyone by because I want to start dead last. This is gonna be a true last to first challenge. Now this formation lap is going to prove just how slippery this track is. And going through this right-hander right here, we're gonna turn in and we get barely any grip. You can see how slow we're going. Someone stalled the kart right there. I think that's number 20. So we actually gain a position on the warm-up lap. I'm trying to go as slow as possible, try and let everyone pass me. And it's taking forever for everyone to pass me. Going through this left-hander right here, watch this. We turn the steering wheel all the way to the left here, and we're just going in a straight line. Absolutely no grip whatsoever. So going down the straight here, I let go of the steering wheel because I noticed that my kart was pulling a bit to the right here. But I mean, there's so much understeer that, that doesn't really matter. And that's another thing to note. At DKC, a lot of people
complain about the unequal carts is we get a crap ton of understeer going through these corners. But a lot of people complain about the unequal carts. And in these conditions, carts don't really matter. It all comes down to driver. And right now I'm trying to go as slow as possible to try and let people pass me because I'm still in 23rd. I want to be in 25th. And people are just going way too slow. I look behind me. The guy behind me actually spun out. So this is really frustrating for me. I know the leaders are way ahead of me because they're already in formation. They're just slowing down to allow us to catch up to them. So this is really frustrating. And this is an 8-lap final. Normally the finals are around 10 to 12 laps. I don't really remember. But it's 8 laps because the lap times were so slow that 8 laps took an eternity. So we finally caught up to the formation group. Again, we're still in 23rd. We want to be in 25th. And I will say, it took me 100 videos, but we finally have a wet race. I'm going to categorize this as a wet race because, the track is so damn slippery. And so we're still in 24th. We want to be in 25th. You can see how slow the formation lap is having to go to allow the people from behind to really catch up. And we're actually going to skip ahead because it took them forever to catch up. So that was officially the slowest warm-up lap I've ever done, but we're about to start the race. Flagman wave screen, we're good to go. So my strategy going into this race is to just back way the hell off. I noticed in the heavies race that the amount of carnage at the start was just enormous. So we're gonna just try and pass people, benefit off of their mishaps as someone's already spun off. And going through this right-hander up here, this is where a lot of people are going to spin. So we're in 24th right now. We already passed one person. We can see there's another person spun around right here, go up into 23rd. Not as many people spun out as I thought, but going through this left-hander right here, it's not going to be over. We're going to see another person exit stage right over there. Going through this left-hander, you can see the amount of understeer I'm getting. We pass another person, and this guy, he tries to go for the move on me, and he just ends up spinning in front of me. We're up into 21st. Going through this quick left-right up here, there's going to be 4 people spun, and it's going to be 4 people in one corner, and we're now up into 17th. So going down this straight right here, we're going to see someone off to the right. Don't know how they got there. That kind of puzzles me. And then going through this right-hander right here, we're going to pass 2 people. It's kind of a monkey see, monkey do sort of thing. Someone sees someone spin out, and they're like, hey, that's fun. And then they spin out. So we jump up into 14th. We've gained a total of 11 positions, and we haven't even finished this lap. Going through this left-hander right here, trying to gain some more positions. We have someone on our outside going through this right-hander right here. We move down into 15th temporarily, jump back up into 14th. They're going to try and get the cut back on me, and we're going to have to leave them the space. It is quite hard to give people space on a track like this because you just can't turn. Another person has gone off track over on the right over there, so we jump back up into 14th. And then going down into this right-hander right here, my friend Javen is behind me. He's going to do a pretty good move on the inside. He passes 2 people. I'm going to get the move on this one guy down the straight, so we go back up into 14th. And I'm just really hesitant to pass people because I don't want to take anyone out, because I wouldn't be happy with myself if I took people out. So it is kind of hard to pass people, but it's not impossible. Going through this right-hander right here, let's see what's going to happen. We're going to try and hold it around the outside. You can see just so much understeer. Number 6 spins it, and then these 2 people wipe each other out. Going into this left-hander right here, Javen, you can see just the amount of understeer he gets. We go up into 10th place. So I don't know how this has happened, but I started in 25th, and we're not even finished lap 2, and I'm already in 10th place. And as going through this left-right up here, someone has spun out, but they're too far ahead for us to capitalize on that. But like I was saying, I haven't really passed anyone. People are just spinning out in front of me, so I'm kind of like the Moses of the karting world, just parting the sea of karts. Now, fortunately, there is no one behind me. The gap behind me is quite large already, so I don't have to worry about anyone going for any sensational dive bombs. I can focus all my time and energy on the karts in front, and actually, in a scenario like this, like I said before, it's good to be behind someone because you're going to be doing a lot of experimentation, especially when a track is this slippery. You're going to be doing a lot of experimentation, and so just seeing what works and what doesn't work is going to help you. And having a cart in front of you, you can definitely see if you're doing something right. You see we're catching up to this cart pretty quickly, so I want to get past this cart as fast as possible. That's another thing about this type of racing. It's really easy to get stuck behind someone because you just don't want to go for any sensational dive bombs. So going through this right-hander up here, cart number 21 gets a little sideways. I try my best not to bang into him because I really don't want to punt him off track. That's not how I want to pass people. And fortunately, we didn't do that. But yeah, we're going to try and pass 21 as fast as possible. You can see how fast we caught up to him. So coming out of the corners here, we can see 21 getting a lot of wheel spin. I was as well. That was another thing to note about this race, is that it was so slippery that even rental carts, which are usually not that fast and don't have a whole lot of power, we're getting wheel spin coming out of the corner. So you needed to just roll on the throttle as smooth as possible and just try and make sure you don't get any wheel spin, because if you got too much wheel spin, then you could spin the cart. As 21 dips a wheel coming out of the corner right there, couldn't really capitalize on that because, you know, it's hard to go around people, especially when you have so much understeer. But I'm trying to put the pressure on him. He definitely knows I'm there. I see him glancing behind him, looking at me. So I'm trying to keep the pressure up, and hopefully he makes a mistake. So throughout this race, you'll see me experimenting a lot and trying to figure out what's the fastest way around this track, because normally you usually go, you know, wider entrances and you try not to turn the steering wheel as much. But right here you can see I'm experimenting, trying to take it a little more narrow. In that instance, it didn't work out, so maybe next time I try something different. But yeah, that's the one thing about this track, is that every part of the track was super slippery. So if you tried to go out wide, it just wouldn't work. Now there was a dry line. There actually was a dry line, and it was incredibly hard to see because, as you can see, the entire track is black and it's not very well lit. As going through this right-hander right here, Kart 21, he finally gives up. We put enough pressure on him that he goes into a mistake. We move up into 9th place. But like I was saying, these conditions are incredibly hard to figure out what the best line is. And kind of what I figured out was just take the normal racing line. I noticed that the normal racing line was actually not that bad. And so actually trying to hit the apexes, because I noticed there's a fair bit of grip on the apexes, as someone right here has spun off. We go up into 8th place, and you can see the next cart in front is quite a bit ahead. So from here on out, the race kind of got a little boring because gaps were starting to get really big. And I was just trying to close the gap of the carts in front. They were actually pretty decent drivers. They weren't spinning too much, and they actually had a decent amount of pace. So it was kind of hard to catch up to them. But yeah, I'm just going to skip ahead to the good parts of this race. So we move forward to lap 7. We only have 2 more laps left in this race. And you see up ahead, we have started catching up to someone. Now that person was about the same speed as me, but they would spin every once in a while, and that's why I caught up to them. And at this point, I'm still experimenting. So going through this right-hander right here, I'm actually going to lean forward going into the corner, trying to get some weight on the front tires just to get it to turn in. I'm not 100% sure if that was working. Definitely wasn't making things worse. But one thing I noticed that was really helping was going through these corners, I would slam on the brakes, I'd get the rear tires to lock up, and that would cause the rear end to rotate, and then before the cart would spin, I would get off the brakes and then use the gas to control the rotation. Now this does require some finesse, as you are essentially just doing a controlled spin, but yeah, I noticed it was allowing me to get a little more rotation than just doing nothing. Also trying to get my wheels on the apex because I noticed there was a fair amount of grip there, surprisingly. But going through this left-hander right here, the cart in front actually spins out. We move up into 7th place, and we only have 1.5 laps left in this race, so can we hold him off? going through this right-hander right here, we go out a little wide, and fair play to him. Cart number 3 goes on our inside, and he holds it very well, actually. That inside had a decent amount of grip. And now we're going to just try and follow him. I think he was actually a little bit faster than me, but as you can see, he was spinning out. And so we're going to try and follow him, see if we can learn a thing or two. Maybe go for one hell of a dive bomb on the last lap. Now, we're going to try and see, where we're faster and where we're slower than Cart 3. That right-hander back there, he definitely pulled away from us. But going down through the straight here, we've gained a little bit on him. He's swerving down the straight here. I think he dipped a wheel into the mud, trying to get the mud off his tires. Going through this right-hander right here, the exit of this corner was a little tricky. You had to get on the gas a little slower than normal. You can see the rear end stepping out for Cart 3. Going through this left-hander right here, I think the narrower line was better. As Cart 3 goes a little wide, I take a more narrower line. And through the exit, I'm able to get up beside him. You can see he's trying his best to get onto the power. I think about going side by side through this left-hander right here, but I ultimately back off. Thought better of it. And then going through this left-right up here, Cart 3 actually goes off track, and that dirt patch over there was actually not mud. It was actually dirt, so it actually had more grip than the track. Now that's technically cutting the track, but the officials didn't really care, so next time if I do this race, I might try that line. So going through this left-hander right here, we're going to try and take a more narrower line. As we can see, someone has just parked it on the apex. They've given up on life. Unfortunately, that wasn't for position. But yeah, that corner cut that Cart 3 did really gave him quite a bit of a gap. And so we're not going to be close enough to go for any moves on him. So we're going to finish this race in 8th place, which is really not that bad. Started in 25th, move up into 8th. That's a net gain of 17. Honestly, not that bad. I'm quite happy with this race. And actually, this race was a whole lot of fun. Slipping and sliding on a track is always a whole lot of fun. And yeah, I would definitely do this race again. Now, unfortunately, this was the last DKC race of the year. I don't know when the next one is, but yeah, we're going to have to wait to do this race again. And hopefully we'll be on the other track next time we do this race, because they are making another track. Don't know when that's going to be finished, but hopefully they get finished with that soon. As going through this corner right here, Cart number 3 does some celebratory donuts. Give him a little thumbs up over there, telling him good job. But yeah, that's all I'm going to have for today. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions, suggestions, or opinions, please do comment below. Thank you guys for watching, and have a good day.